Okay, and there's lots of food, please eat it. This may be my favorite Cole Davis song, and certainly the one we play the most. But just know that time to times I can, and I will, look into your soul.
I'm coming! We won't. Oh, you be in line. Were you?
Okay, any chance I can get a glass of water?
Yeah, I can get you one.
Good. This thing's...
Look at that, Lee.
Ah. Yes.
But I'm gonna shut this. I'm gonna shut those speakers off. You know why?
Okay. No. Feedback?
Yeah, feedback. You're like, now that's cool.
What? Yeah?
You're like, that's actually a professional setup. Yes, and that's the mic we're using. Oh, I need to go back to the stream. I need to put the mic back on here, Lee. Oh, it is. Okay. Cool. I need to check something with Lee here. Say something, Lee.
Wolf Zero. Wolf Zero.
Yep, I got Mike. Cool.
Here's Mike Tech, that was.
I was making sure it was
Wolf 0. Wolf 0.
Bob Brooks.
works.
That's what he uses a mic check.
There we go. That's kind of cool. You can see our stream, isn't it?
Yeah, but we're delayed up there.
Yeah, I know.
So we can't fix anything by it. You need to go the other way around. You need to have it predicting how we're going to move. Then you have something there, son.
Successfully connected.
What?
Oh, it's saying, but we'll also have that too. So, and that'll go to Facebook directly. You're like, yeah, that'll work good. At least, let me go ear to this water.
Papa was a rolling stone. Wherever he laid his hat was his home. And when he died, all that left us was alone. I'll take tap water anytime, especially in Cedar Rapids.
That's filter water. It's healthier for you.
No, it isn't. Do you know that we have one of the 10 best seawater systems in the entire world? And we've won multiple competitions ever since 2008 because of the 3-prong approach using UV. This is one of the few things coming out of 08's floods. It was like, oh, now we're just kind of bitching water. I mean, I remember when water coming down, especially.
Great, it says DJ Kevin is live now.
Yeah, DJ knows. So, DJ's live?
Yeah, my DJ kept me.
Oh.
It's on my profile. So we got double feed. So we got it on my regular profile, this, YouTube, Twitch, and some other ones.
Twitch? I don't even know what Twitch is.
It's another streaming platform.
Okay. You on TikTok?
Not yet.
No.
You know that.
How about just talk? So, Instagram, Old Yeller. Is that one of them?
This will go up.
I don't think I can even
we got
name.
one viewer already.
I don't think I could even name 30 programs. I can think I could name 10 platforms. I was saying when you said it's on 30 platforms, I'm going 30 platforms. There's 30 platforms.
Right now, I'm connected to. Makes sense, doesn't it?
I'm hoping on Wednesday I can get permission. I thought about doing a gorilla, but I'd like to just walk into the Vets Memorial. They're in the grand entryway where
Yeah.
and back up to the sit down back up with the stained glass behind me, and do my war set for the veterans because it's Veterans Day. The list includes the Battle of New Orleans, Frank and Jesse, One War Black, When Johnny Comes Marching Home, The Grave, Farewell My General, Sullivan, The Green Beret, Rolling the Headless Thompson Gunner, Take the Star Out of the Window, Help Me If You Can, I'm Running from Vietnam, Ho Chi Minh Trail, and Sam Stone, and then Washington calls.
And that won't. Well, we are technically live, but I don't know where to account for it yet.
Yeah, you can't hook me up to a monitor though.
Switch.
And didn't have time to grab a Coke. I know I'm forgetting one that was supposed to be on this list. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, we got another song. I want to do. No. I'm not superstitious in any way.
Yeah.
Except I've had really good luck on Friday the 13th when a black cat has crossed my path. So if black cat doesn't cross my path, I paint one.
Okay.
And then throw them across my path. You get that song pulled up?
What song?
It's Inherit the Earth by the Replacements.
Well, I can do that.
Yeah, that's our opening theme.
Okay.
And I can show you where we would fade it down and come in.
Okay.
All right.
I might have to have you type it. I'm not good at typing. But
Well, I'm not good at spelling, so because I'm a writer. And every place I worked where you had professional writers, yeah, proofreaders got paid more because they could spell.
that work for you?
Sure. So
That's the first thing you go.
just tell me it's ready to go.
Yeah.
And, go.
Top one.
Just like
Yeah, we go like that. Shared audio feed. Share. Let's see if this up better. No.
Shocking, I'm nothing shocks anymore. The message read as it washed ashore. Skies turn black as my eyes look down. Written on the back of these words I found. We'll inherit the earth, but we don't want it. It's been ours since birth.
Well, I can't fix that. It should just pack that. Yep. Never mind.
Shocking, I'm nothing shocks anymore. The message read as it washed ashore.
There it goes.
Skies turn black as my eyes look down. Written on the back of these words I found. We'll inherit the earth, but we don't want it. It's been ours since birth. What you doing on it? We'll inherit the earth, but we don't want it. Laying claim at birth. What you doing on it?
That mutes it.
What?
If I hit the mic off, it'll mute it.
Okay, whatever. We're gonna get some faders in here then.
Yes. See, it's still running. If I hit the mic off, it fades it down.
That's fine. We're gonna get some faders in here then. Shocking things. I say don't shock anymore. That is about sums up state of pop music, rap, shocking things, all of it. Say don't shock right there. That is, I came back to Iowa, and got back in Seth's life. He was 12 years old, and he said to me, "Dad, I don't know if you're going to be able to handle the music I'm listening to." I was like, came back to Iowa. Really? What are you listening to? He said, Nirvana. I said, oh my. I said, what else? Well, Silverchair and what are you listening to? Some 9 Inch Nails even. And I was like, wow. Okay, I rapped lead singer of Fear's head in barbed wire before he went on stage just about 6 weeks ago. Some 9 Inch Nails. So I hang around with an all-girl hardcore band. Okay, I rapped lead singer of Fear's head in barbed wire. I'm pretty sure I can handle Nirvana. All I can tell you, my Trent Reznor story, I listened to 9 Inch Nails. I thought, well, this is technically really good. But I don't really, I just don't get it. And then 8 weeks later, my second marriage was broken up. And I'm sitting in Archie's house, and 9 Inch Nails comes on. I go, I get it now. You have to be utterly depressed and manically deranged, and it makes all the sense in the world. And in fact, more sense than it should.
The light is blaring you out.
From there, pull it down. Pull it down and put it up. See? You pull it down, or you can put it up off the ceiling. And it'll more illuminate the room. See? Yeah.
That helped.
Whatever you want.
There it went.
There'll be adjustments.
Yep.
And then when I start to produce light, see? You didn't know I could do that, did you?
But it does look better on there versus there.
Okay.
But I know you see how good quality that feed is.
Yeah, I know.
The phone feed is always better than
Let's do something right now because I know we're going to start in a minute, right?
Mm-hmm.
6:30, okay. Some African will call and be demanding my attention.
Now, if you want, Lee, we could end my live stream and put your phone in my in my tripod and then go live from your Facebook.
No, I'm fine.
All right.
So when I started to notice that things were starting to come unwound with Lynn was about 4 months after and then when the pandemic hit, I could tell that it was like she was in shock. All right. So here's the thing. It's gone to full blown insanity warfare. And I talked to her about it, tried to talk to her, like I did all the time, about, things and how they were and what she wanted me to do. Except now it's just full blown crazy as far as that goes. And I talked to her, and 40 minutes later, she sent me a message saying, "You got to communicate with me. What's going on?" I mean, it just makes me want to grab a hammer and bash my head. But my real estate agent, she really reassured me today. She says, "We're going to get this done. Don't worry. And then we're going to look for your compound outside of town spot." She goes, "I wish I'd known this 2 months ago, because my parents just put 100-yard square with services. And they sold it. $35,000. That's more. Of course, I paid more for the land than my facility will cost me.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not. We'll have to wait and see how expensive it is. Are we going?
Yeah, we're live right now.
Well, we have to start here, Kevin.
Yeah, that's live. That's on air.
But we had theme music and everything. You gotta have some production standards. This is the Lee and Kevin podcast, and we sat around and we're talking about all the different aspects of music, both from a writer, musician, player, which I am, and Kevin is too, but also from the technical side and the business side. And I've been engaged in this endeavor for 45 years, and I've seen a lot of change and a lot of things happen. So when I ran the music market, we'd have all these young musicians come in, and I'd ask them, "What is it with this?" And I had some people give me some really good answers, but for the most part, it was like, "Well, I want to make it. I want to make it." And I used to say to them, "Well, what is making it to you? What is that point in which you're making it?" And I got to tell you, one of the best answers I ever got was, "I want to serve Satan." It was a hardcore show, and we had Christian hardcore shows, and then we had other hardcore shows, and then we had mixed shows. I always found it humorous that the Satanist hardcores and the Christian hardcores, there wasn't a whole lot of difference to that music. They'd be yelling and screaming and swearing, and Christ would be mentioned, and the devil too. That's what I knew for sure. So we thought we'd try a podcast where we explored some of these different things that are out there. And our loose theme tonight. We thought we'd try a podcast where we can have that echoing in it.
There you go.
Anyway, we thought we'd go over and check out some of the differences on how things changed in music, both from the point of view of the musicians and the point of view of the business in this last century. At the turn of the century and moving into the beginning of the device explosion, phonograph, and then radio, and eventually television, you had dramatic changes happening. But for the most part, the business was pretty able at segregating the business of music, and the white people made music for the white people, and the black people made music for the black people, and it was nicely segregated, easy to package, easy to keep certain things, until 3 people came along: Louis Armstrong, Cab Calloway, and Duke Ellington. And they were game changers. because white people wanted to listen to their music just as much. And their purchase power, as their products got purchased and used dramatically, they rose to the top and screwed the paradigm for the segregation of music. Although they still attempted to do it, it was a universe that had changed. And I would just like to, thank them, first of all, and acknowledge that, there's Cab Calloway is my personal favorite. I love Louis as well, and Duke Ellington. They're masters of what they did. But Cab Calloway also had, beyond the music and his ability to entertain, his ability to dance and sing, his ability to arrange his orchestra, he also had that twist of a little bizarreness there, a little fun. He had a 20-piece jazz band when he broke into the real touring part of it. 19 fellow brothers and one 6'4" red-haired Polak. Now, what instrument do you think he's going to play?
Guitar.
No, that doesn't make enough of a statement. He was a drummer. Cab didn't have to listen to a bunch of blacks had rhythm. No, the guy who had the rhythm was the big red-haired Polak. That's the kind of guy Cab was. And, he was Al Capone's favorite. Because of that, the 2 times that I know he appeared here in Cedar Rapids, Iowa, were because of Capone. Capone, this is about as far west as Capone liked to run and to get away from Chicago. He'd come over here and he'd get bored with the locals, and he'd call and insist Cab come and play. Louis Armstrong, what can you say about that? He brought it all together. And the Duke, man, like I said, it transcended. And you had 2 Jewish brothers who so loved what was happening in music all over that they loved the soulfulness and the integration of what was essentially folk music along with what was happening. And that's how you got George and Ira Gershwin. That's how you got Porgy and Bess. And many other just incredible pieces. So then we worked our way. One of the things that Buddy Holly gets credit for is standing up to the business at a time when they didn't want to see a break from what was going on. They wanted to see that 8 to 12 piece ensemble come in. But Buddy Holly, even though he was doing a almost version of country western, he came in and he said, I can do that with 3 people. And that, as much as the music, was rock and roll. And Chuck Berry, the same thing. Chuck Berry was probably one of the biggest game changers for what was going on. But what rock and roll was really saying was, I really don't need that many musicians. If the ones I've got are good and they fall into the system, they were bucking the system as far as the industry was, want what they were wanting. And of course, then, you had Elvis, and to a lesser extent in terms of how he was ripping off the black artists who'd come before him, Carl Perkins, because he was just and Sun Studios and everything that Sun Studios did. And I started to look around and realize, what? We need songwriters more than we need artists. There's always artists. songwriters are a special thing. And so record labels started to sign songwriters to 5 album contracts so that they could capture their catalog and use it for their other artists. And a lot of people, when they talk about how great the music was in the 60s and 70s, they fail to think about that aspect of it. And they fail to think about also a much smaller pool of talent to draw from. Then the garage band situation hit. And the birth of punk came long before the Sex Pistols ever came over here. But it had already been brewing, and once again, that was rock and roll coming back around to the same thing. Hey, I don't need to do what you tell me to. I can do what I fucking want. I'm sorry, do we have language restrictions? It's a podcast, right?
No, we don't.
Yeah, great. Because I'm strictly against censorship. I think it's the worst form of cowardice. But that, that little hiccup in the industry really put a lot of three-piece suits at the nervous because they didn't understand it. And to tell you the truth, initially either did I. But then I saw it for what it was, rebellion. And great musicians started to work within that space. And then the paradigm changed with Napster. Everything that we had built an industry on, as far as where the money came from, where the money would go to, well, it was entirely destroyed, and destroyed quickly. And I remember I had already was on my way out of LA and back here, but as I got back here and watched it from afar, I could see the meltdown happening. And I could see and knew that the system of music that I had experienced in Los Angeles, I could never return back to. It wouldn't be there. And sure enough, almost all the great studios went. Sound City got a re-injection of things because of Nirvana and bands like that coming down and being able to do something. Dave Grohl has that board out of Sun City to his studio. With 5 boards in that analog. And I was watching the documentary and the work that him on drums, his bass player from Nirvana, and the keyboardist from and guitarist, and then Paul McCartney. And Paul was just... I usually find a way to niggle at Paul a little bit, I always say that, Chapman had to be crazy because the sane man had shot Paul. But that's not true. It's just one of them things they say. I think he was aiming for Yoko anyway. That's my theory. It would have been much more impressive to Jodie Foster had he shot Yoko. All right, that's enough terrible things we're going to say this time around. But then, things change so many ways. And I've watched some of these things. YouTube is amazing to have all the things they have on there. And there's these little tutorial documentaries, whatever, that will explain certain types of music to you and give you how the origins came together. Or they'll tell you about a band of notoriety that maybe wasn't as famous as they should have been. I watched the one that they did on the Replacements. Well, I watched several of them. But I watched one they did on the Replacements, and I said to myself, well, you got a lot of that right, in terms, but what you didn't get right was they were by far and away the best club band there was in rock and roll for the amount of time that they were rolling. Now, they came about it in a pretty destructive way, but the bottom line was that that's where they were brilliant. And when they were signed to Sire Records, came out of the regional Midwest to a world famous and big record label. They played 11 club dates in 14 days in Los Angeles, and I saw 7 of them, and it was impressive because 50% of the show at any one of those club dates was not at the other club date. The number of different songs that they did, just having fun. And I saw them do If I Only Had a Brain from Wizard of Oz. What a great song for a rock band to do. But it changed in a bad way as far as the revenue stream. It used to be you made 80% of your music off of royalties and 20% of your money off of royalties and 20% of your money on touring. And now that is flipped the entire way. About 20% on royalties and 80% on touring. And any of you that have been on the road, played on the road, spent any time out there, and it doesn't have to be music or if one of the other art forms like stand-up comedy or theater, know that is a toll. It will take a toll. There's a booth and money that has to be exchanged over into hell. There's devil in the booth, taking it right out of you as you move. But at the same time, the change in digital, and we can have another show about equipment and analog versus digital and all those other things that we would be talking about, but that's for another show. But it did make it so that the artists could own their paints and their paintbrushes. They could go into an anonymous basement somewhere and get 99% of what they could get in a place that was charging them hundreds of dollars an hour. So the game entirely changed there. But it still comes back around to the songwriter. Now, the songwriter that taught me the most was John Prine, and the pandemic took him. It's been one of the hardest things for me to deal with, and the loss of an individual who was not a member of my family or inner circle. I'm still not over mourning, and I still have a certain level of difficulty discussing it even. But the celebration of John, the ability that John has to enlighten a group, a mindset, and although it took his passing, he's just now starting to get that recognition because of it. I cannot tell you how many people I always say, well, you know who John Prine is? No, I don't. And this was a process to turn them on to John Prine. I'm in a couple of fan groups too, and watching those fan groups grow, by people just rolling in to because somebody's turned them on to John Prine, or for 3 days or after he passed, the top story on Google was about John, and John Prine's stories raged on for in that key place, and people started to find out a lot about this incredible man. I would have lived with him in artist somewhat obscurity and been happy. I don't know how John would have felt, but he has taught me more about how simple can be complex, how messages can be subtext, how topics are a mobile thing, how you just got to enjoy your life and keep writing. Best advice, if you're a young songwriter, came from John, and asked what he would What his recommendation was to a young songwriter, he said, well, if you write songs to please other people and they don't, you got nothing. But if you write songs to please yourself and nobody else likes them, well, at least you got something to do in your room. And I got something to do in my room. I'm very happy about that. But John's a perfect example of that 5-album contract signed to get that songwriter's catalog accessible to the Atlantic label. And that first year, I remember John Denver doing 3 or 4 on the album that had Country Roads on it. And also Joan Baez, Diamonds in the Rough, does Hello in there. That kind of money when it comes in at the beginning to you as a songwriter, because you get 5%. All right. 7%. 7% of whatever is printed went to a split between the songwriter and the publisher. And later on, of course, that's the reason that songwriters became their own publishers, because what the hell was the publisher doing? Nobody's buying sheet music anymore. Wasn't out there promoting it in that regard. Didn't deserve half of it in the first place, but that's why all songwriters started to be their own publisher and negotiate for that other 3.5%. Another one of people that I was turned on to and instantly fell in love with, and now recognize that his body of work is so impressive in so many ways, but also so diverse against the timeline of how music sounded and sounds, that 100 years from now, 150 years from now, I believe we'll be teaching Tom Waits in conservatory schools of music the same way we teach Mozart. And Tom, because of it, he's going to confuse some people because of those stylings early on. They're going to, wait a minute, what era was he in exactly? But I credit his wife, Catherine, for doing the big job. Tom, well, if you can get Tom to admit to anything, that's a major success. But Tom had been writing what he thought people wanted to hear through those first 5 to 7 albums. That single year that he did the soundtrack for One from the Heart and did Frank's Wild Years, wrote that song and then turned it into a musical, and then came out with Swordfish Trombone. Swordfish Trombone is the stepping off point, because I think his wife finally got through to him that he needed to write for himself. And he needed to write what he thought. And the next album, Rain Dogs, took that step forward. And it was amazing. Bone Machine after that. I saw a lot of writers, established great writers, Paul Simon, David Byrne, take off and go someplace to inject things into their music. And I've heard some of them give credit to Tom. It's like, this guy took the quantum leap forward. We had to try to keep up. I still think he's leading the pack and taking that step forward. Some people have said he's done. I mean, the burst that came out of the last 10 years is just amazing. And when you look at the body of work. Ballers, Brawlers, that's a triple album. There's 50 songs there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was right after, and then, you got into that double, released 2 albums at the same time. Rap, and has been running for almost 42, 45 years now. Usually that's about the cycle of a style of music. They run for 40, 45 years. They start to kind of fall apart, and then they start to feed back on themselves. You know, I remember when Neil Sedaka had a big comeback because rock and roll was feeding back on itself. And I see that happening with some rap and some hip hop. It's pretty amazing that we got to hear. But my question is always, what next? Where are we going next? What's going to happen? I was excited about rap because of it being a word, lyric-driven form of music. And then when hip-hop kind of started to own that part of it, I was like, oh, man, you guys brought the damn hook in. Now you're going to be a slave to the hook. But I see a lot of people in this music business that are passionate about what they're doing, but they haven't taken a lot of time to assess the big picture and say, what am I going to be doing? What is it I'm trying to bring to the process long term? What is it, when I ran the music market, like I said, I would ask, by the way, 178 different shows in 10 and a half months, all different styles of things, including a children's show, puppet show. It was brilliant, and also a very moving fundraiser for the Lakota, for the reservation over there. It's just a disgrace. To try to get them some heating assistance through the winter. And it was wonderful to have their nationally recognized official storyteller come in and tell the creation story. And Kimberly Malloy made delicious buffalo stew. And we could all feel like we'd done something and experienced something absolutely wonderful. But the problems still rage on there. And the Lakota Sioux have never accepted any of the offers to settle for the land. And at this point, I don't blame them. I just say, you know what? You white people need to go. This needs to be returned. I'm sorry, Deadwood. Sorry. Sorry, South Dakota. You shouldn't have done that. Just for gambling and gold. So it's now rappers I see. And I want to ask them, what are we doing next? How are we going to make this a transitional thing? And where's it going? What do you think, Kevin?
Yeah.
What do you think about jazz?
It's come a long ways.
It's come a long ways.
Big time it has.
How about improvisational jazz?
I haven't listened to a whole lot of it.
Wait, I'm here to tell you don't have to, but it's masturbation. I'm sorry, jazz guys. I'm sure we're going to hear about that.
Oh my gosh.
I
can just imagine Patrick listening.
But it's sex with someone they love. It truly is. I mean, jazz is at a point. You're at a point in music. If you truly being able to do improvisational jazz well, nobody else is going to satisfy you other than you. That's, it is a wonderful and then also dark and lonely place all at one. It's you've reached a certain pinnacle for which most people look and go, what? Where you at? What? What are you doing? How can I? Well, of course it makes sense to you.
Okay, what about bluegrass?
Bluegrass is close when it's at its finest. It's close to, it takes a very special type of musician to get the notes and the spaces, because it's always about the spaces. Spaces between the notes are always more important than the notes. In almost everything that I've ever heard, it's about the spaces, not about the notes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and in bluegrass, the spaces are very small.
That is true.
So, how they're put together and how it's, is a very special thing. I love some of the, this is the other thing that because the business changed so dramatically, the three-piecers no longer got to say, hey, you know what? I don't think you should be mixing those things together. You shouldn't have been taking that bluegrass and combining it with that folk music and punk music at the same time. That was kind of nasty thing you did right there. You confused the hell out of certain people.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at some of the spin-off things that are happening out there that I love, Andrew Jackson's Jihad, perfect example, or Dead South, totally traditional in so many ways, and yet, except for the possible themes of the song, and then the use of a cello as a bass. I love that too. But you're going to see that. And the other thing is instrumentation. One of the things, and it certainly wasn't me who pioneered this in this particular group. I was in a group in the early 90s in Los Angeles called the Urban Farmers. And the use of instruments, folk instruments run through effects. Folk fascists were very upset at us. Now, like I said, it wasn't me personally. Not that I was kowtowing to the folk fascists, because they're a real problem. But boy, Mr. Corey Baker would take an octave mandolin and run it through some guitar effects and be imitating Hendrix parts and feedback off the octave mandolin. Jeff Davis had played a bowed psaltery, which is an instrument that has been around for 500-600 years, and it's essentially a wooden triangle designed to have young musicians learn how to work their bowing hand. But of course, we wouldn't be using it that way. And it was a wonderful situation. I see it happening a little bit more. I'm actually looking for a cello player with a heart of gold and a brain that's just short of committal. I want to see that cello player push some of the different boundaries. Boy, and Evan Stocks hosting a Thursday night jam down there, what used to be 3rd Street Live. I wish I could keep my mind on what they call it now. But a sax player came in last Thursday. It was just exceptional. And just hearing beautiful saxophone ring out, cut through the air. A lot of space there, so we can social distance in that area and still have room for lots of folks. It was a lot of fun. I'll be there again next Thursday. It has been an interesting time for me, 45 years of songwriting and performing professionally. And at the beginning of the year, I set a goal to do 100 stage appearances and have 300 cover songs and 200 originals. And then the pandemic hit. I thought, there is no possible way. What's that notice say right there?
Let's just saying my iPhone is not now. Just saying storage is getting full.
Oh, okay. I hate it when storage gets full. So I'm just trying to make it to the end of that year. And I thought there's just no way I am going to be able to pull this goal off. But right now, as it sits, I am 8 songs away from the 200 covers. 200 originals. I'm 11 songs away from the 300. And I'm only 10 stage appearances, and that's the top one. 10 stage appearances away from my goal. And I've identified 7 that are there that I'll be doing for sure, save being possibly, COVID. And I've been really good about, trying to stay away from that because I've been hospitalized for pneumonia multiple times. I've had breathing problems. I was not the best place for my lungs, and doctors tell me that on a regular basis. They're like, you need to move to someplace dry. And I say, yeah. You want to tell the family that? Because I really don't want to move without them. So I sit here and I try to make sure that I'm doing as much as I can, but I also don't want to limit myself from being out there in the world. So we're going to make that goal. Here's the real bummer. I told myself if I made the goal, I would reward myself with 3 months in Europe, just troubadouring to towns of 5,000 and less. Just walking into the town, going up to the pubs, saying, hey, should you put me up and feed me? And I'll play for you guys tonight. And I've talked to other musicians who've actually done this, and they have told me that it's just one of the greatest experiences, because there's always your group of local musicians, and there's always an audience out there who would love to hear live music. But the beauty of it is they don't want to hear cover songs. They want to hear what you're going to play. They want to hear what you have. And they don't want to hear your version of their traditional folk music either, because they've got that excellent group there. They are all eyes and all ears on you for the things that you do best. And generally, you're going to get put up nicely, fed well, and paid. And then you get to move on to the next place. You stay 2 nights, though, you're going to end up married to one of their daughters. That's, gotta be careful. But I was going to do Ireland, Belgium, Holland, and Germany. And then just kind of, I don't know about playing too much in Italy or France, but I was just going to kind of go through there on the way back home. And then, because I do know how to order cheese omelet in French. And most of my Italian will get me in trouble. But now I can't, because we're not allowed in those countries. If I wanted to go there, we said, I'm sorry. You got quarantine here at the Motel 6 for 2 weeks. No, they don't even let you do that. In fact, I have a lot of fans in Africa. I was kind of shocked. One guy, minister, he told me he was my biggest fan. I'm your biggest fan, Big Daddy. And I was like, really? How many of my songs you got? 106 he had. And I thought to myself, I don't think I have 106. Maybe he is my biggest fan. I don't know. But it's, I'm still trying to knock the goal off. And I've got some very interesting things. I've been writing and having a great time doing it. I've been doing stand-up comedy thanks to the great Bruce Gentilla, Bruce J., who's now passed from this world and is entertaining at a much nicer establishment. He's opening for Sylvia Plath, pretty sure. And then Big George Hennigan shuffled off, and he's joined up. He's got sound effects coming out of that guitar now. They're just not of this earth. But I am moving on. My youngest, Noble, is responsible for the fact that I'm better every way than I was a decade ago. And I'm trying to take advantage of that in every way I can. And doctor asked me about 8 years ago what I was not doing that I would truly like to do. And I said, pole vault. And he looked at me and said, could you think of something maybe a little bit more realistic? I said, walk on my hands. He said, you could do that before? I said, up 3 flights of stairs. But my oldest boy, Seth, said, once you pass 50, your ass shouldn't get higher than your head. And he's pretty, logical, keep it plain. And I bought into that for almost 18 months. And then I saw an 80-year-old who had the 80-year-old record for pole vaulting, and it was 7 foot. And I said to myself, oh, I can break that record. So I will be pole vaulting again. I hope that's the way I go, and you can throw it on my tombstone. He was running, flinging himself into the air. It just didn't work that well for him. I was hoping, I'm the tender age of 63, and I was really hoping that I would get to play one more season of Unlimited Arc softball. I'm a pitcher in Unlimited Arc. I had a C Division LA City Championship, and I was really wanting to do it. And then the 1 year, leagues all went away. This year it doesn't exist. So I've got to whip myself into shape and get ready for next year. And you're saying to yourself, what does that have to do with music today? Well, you can run on for a long time. But sooner or later, God will cut you down. One of the reasons that music hit a crisis there beyond Napster was because for about a decade before that, the recruitment and development people had continued to get younger, and it continued to be the individuals who had their fingers on the pulse of what's right now, what's hit this minute. And that's great, as long as that's all you really want that song to track for, is right then and now. The longevity created by great writing has slowly been squeezed out of the product that we're putting out there. I mean, I love Boy George, but nobody's doing Come a Chameleon again. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now I had wanted to do a modern version of the rapper. Rapper, they call them the rapper. Bring that one back, just into this modern era. But I couldn't find a decent rapper. You know any of those guys? I might be related to one of them, but so I'm hoping that when we break out of this pandemic situation that is putting so many of us out of work, so many of us on the sideline, that process of being in your room has done something good for you. As a song, I don't care what kind of music you're into, what you're doing, but I hope you've been productive, or been disciplined, or been just repressed to the point where you're just going to explode out. Because some of these musicians, and they're prime targets of conspiracy theories. But some of them believe that this is just a way to shut us down, shut us up, and get us off off the front page of changing the world. But I don't know. That's just a theory I heard. Next time, I would like to hopefully talk about what went wrong for so many musicians with success.
I agree.
What I met Axl Rose when he was second shift manager of Tower Records, Tower Video Store. My roommate Betsy Hester introduced him to me, and she told me before that, she goes, "Hey, this, I know that this style of music is not your number one favorite, but," she goes, "these guys are going to do something." And we were so jaded that we were on the guest list 8 times before we actually showed up. But at that time, I met Axl. He was actually a shy person who, when he did communicate, was succinct and enlightening. And Slash was just a guy who put tapes on the shelf and drank too much beer with my wife in the basement because she was an artist, and they let the artists do whatever they wanted in the basement. So all the other employees would hide their drugs there. And then, not even 2 years later, that person who was in the band with me, the Urban Farmers, he worked at this out there at Rumbo where Appetite for Destruction was recorded. And when they went to make the second album, everybody in that band was now referring to Axl as Satan. Is Satan coming in today? Will Satan be here? 2 years. He went from a nice shy guy to Satan. I blame the money. Maybe not just the money, but the money can buy. Well, next time I'll make Kevin talk more.
Oh, great.
And yeah, we're going to make Kevin talk more. We're going to make him express an opinion so that he can be belittled later on.
All right.
Until next time, this is Lee and Kevin's podcast. See, that's a really good length. 45 minutes is a real good length. That's about where we ran.
Mm-hmm.